I'm Deacon Lisa. I'd like to welcome you to our St. Thomas podcast, where we're going to hear from Claire Kopczynski about what's God doing in your life right now.
Hi, everyone. Father Aaron already told me that I didn't need to introduce myself, but it's too late. It's written into the script, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Claire Kopczynski, and I've been attending St. Thomas since the last podcast guest, Abby Sevlin, invited me to the youth group's fall kickoff event many, many years ago. And all it took was watching Father Aaron throw a bunch of random objects off a lift in the parking lot in the name of community and fellowship, and I was hooked. I've spent nearly half of my life now connected to this beautiful church and its members. I was confirmed here. I was married here. My kids have been baptized here. And though the leadership members and the activities I've been connected to have changed over time, the love of God and those seeking to know Him continue to bless me and my family. I've been thrilled to see the ways St. Thomas has connected with others via new means of technology. The Hearing Loop brings clarity to the sermon for those with hearing aids. Our YouTube channel offers those same sermons to anyone around the globe with an internet connection. And the live broadcast enables me to connect with all of you and God in worship, regardless of where I find myself, just to name a few. In June, I finally began to play a handful of the podcast episodes in my car. I'd seen the notifications on the Facebook page each time a new episode had been uploaded, but up until then, I hadn't taken the time to listen. I was so touched to hear the testimony of God working in the lives of those in our church, to hear the real journeys and struggles and joys that folks have encountered and that we can so often relate to. I was also filled with gratitude for the vulnerability of the podcast guests and for the time that Aaron had taken to record and publish the podcast for us. Taking on a project like that is a labor of love. It requires time and attention for it to be done well. After 3 episodes or so, I was inspired to share my gratitude for all the podcasts, so I whipped out my phone for a quick text message. And now I know Aaron, and I probably should have known better when I said to him, I'm watching the St. Thomas podcast for the first time today. They're fabulous. Because of course it was followed with 1, I'm so glad you're enjoying them. And 2, so when would you like to come and share? Not kidding. So here we are. And since then, I've had some time to reflect on the question, what's up with you and God lately? And my initial thought was a lot. I honestly didn't really know where to begin. Excuse me. There have been what sometimes feel like a million changes and challenges in the last year, and I have cried a lot. But as I thought about all that I've been walking through, it dawned on me just how much God has taken care of me. He has protected me. He's been looking out for me. And I'm humbled to know that the nature of our God, the nature of our God is our Father and loving parent has been living out fully in my life. And I'm sorry, because you could probably hear my sniffles. God has bestowed gifts on me that have enabled me to endure the difficulties and darkest days of the last year or so. I truly believe that the jobs and the people and love in my life come from a God who truly wants only what is best for me. I know that I delight in the happiness of my children and find absolute joy as I watch them grow and thrive. And I believe God finds the same joy as we grow, as we thrive, and as we dive deeper into the roles He has for us within the kingdom of God. In September of last year, we found out that we were pregnant with our 3rd child. And while ultimately we knew this would be a great blessing for our family, we were nervous. Each of my previous pregnancies were completely miserable. And we didn't have any expectation that this one would be any different. And sure enough, it wasn't.
The vomiting, the nausea, the constipation, the exhaustion, the anemia, the round ligament pain, the migraines, heartburn, and more remained until the day that Tyler was born. It made me miserable, crabby, angry, and sometimes depressed. I struggled to be a pleasant wife, mom, friend, and coworker. Pregnancy was a heavy burden on those closest to me, my husband, my kids, and my mom. The day-to-day work that I participated in fell to them while I curled up in bed immediately upon coming home from work. And while I still do not understand the need for that kind of suffering to bring my beautiful babies into this world, I do see all the ways in which God took care of me during that time. My job was one of my biggest gifts during pregnancy. I was on full-time active duty orders, working for the Wisconsin Army National Guard counter-drug program. My assignment was with the Brown County Sheriff's Office in Green Bay. And both my law enforcement bosses and my counter-drug bosses were incredibly flexible and supportive. I had the gift of freedom and flexibility to adjust my hours and come in late if I was feeling particularly rough in the morning. As long as I made up my time in the afternoon, there was never an issue. I was never charged sick time for my doctor's appointments. If I needed to go, I simply went. And those appointments became more frequent as time went on because I was considered high risk due to my age and because I had had COVID. The flexibility in my schedule also allowed me the opportunity to see an acupuncturist to help alleviate some of the pregnancy problems I experienced. Oddly enough now, my time with the counter-drug program has come to an end, and I will leave full-time active duty orders at the end of this September. However, God's love and protection over me continues. My bosses at the Brown County Sheriff's Office have offered me a civilian job doing the same thing I do now in my National Guard capacity, only now I'll be working as a Brown County employee. That means I don't have to go back to my job as a 911 dispatcher. I can continue to have predictable hours, predictable working days of the week, and a comparable salary to what I have now, things that are invaluable to me and my family and alleviate a lot of stress that comes with working in a 24-hour emergency services environment. I will miss my work as a dispatcher a lot, but my loving Father in heaven knows what I need right now and has lovingly orchestrated this gift so that I can be the best version of myself right now. Leaving the counter-drug program also means I have to use up all the vacation I've accrued in the last fiscal year, and that adds nearly a month to my 12-week maternity leave. And in my world, time is one of the biggest gifts I can receive right now. So I found out I was pregnant in September. We talked about that. Now fast forward a few months to last year in November, and I found myself speaking with an investigator with the Appleton Police Department and a representative from the Outagamie County Coroner's Office. They came to inform me that my father had passed away in his home. Without getting into all the nitty-gritty details, I'll simply say that we had a strained relationship. My dad was a difficult person, in part because he was so often battling his own demons. He had mental health issues that made it difficult for him to fully function in life and maintain normal, healthy relationships. With his passing has come a mountain of work. My father was a hoarder, and for the second time, he had systematically destroyed the home he was living in. I am his only child, so I knew that settling his affairs would fall to me, but I didn't even know what his affairs were. This is where the loving hand of God came to surround me yet again. First, in the immediate aftermath of his death, I was able to call upon my friends at the American Legion that worked at Wickman's funeral home, and they took care of everything for me. When the time came, they showed up by the dozens to render full military funeral honors to my dad, a Navy pilot. And they also did 100% of the coordination with King's Veterans Cemetery to have my father laid to rest there. While I didn't immediately hold a memorial service for my dad when I chose to do so, Father Ralph gave an inspired eulogy. It was respectful, it was honest, and it was honoring of my dad's life. My mom and her friends gifted their time to me for months after my father died. They met at his home a few days a week. They're all retired and retired social workers. And so they had the stomach for this work. And they did the painstaking tasks of combing through every single piece of paper and garbage, looking for important documents that I might need. They saved any items they thought might be of sentimental value or importance to me, because at the time, my father was living in my grandparents' home. So a lot of those items that were in there belonged to my grandmother, my grandfather, and those before them, not just my dad. They carted off carloads of just stuff to Goodwill. They scrubbed and cleaned, and quite honestly, they saved my ass. I don't know if Aaron has to edit that out or not, but it's true. As sick and as pregnant as I was, I could not do that work. And I certainly couldn't do that work with my 6-year-old and my 3-year-old with me. Additionally, our church has some gifted and talented members whose skills have blessed me in this process as well. Gordon Stillings has patiently worked with me as a client to settle the estate. And Russ Richke has helped me with my dad's taxes. Behind the scenes, my husband James has been a constant support, always watching the kids whenever I need to do any estate work. He fixed the toilet at my dad's house so my mom and her helpers didn't have to drive to the gas station to go to the bathroom. He drove our trailer back and forth between the dump and the house as our worker bees filled it with trash from the home. He's our resident expert on all things automotive, and he's offered to take the lead in getting all the vehicles in the driveway sold. James drove with me to King to place my dad's urn in the columbarium. And before the summer is over, James and I will go to Point Beach State Park, one of my dad's favorite places, for rest, relaxation, and connection to God. And he and I will spread his ashes in the lake. I probably haven't acknowledged or fully captured all the ways that God's people have blessed and helped me through this process. And honestly, if I miss thanking someone for their kindness, I truly apologize, because I am extremely grateful. What I have learned through this journey, and we didn't even get to touch on the COVID journey that impacted my family for a solid month, is that we need each other and that it is okay to ask for help. After all, we are a body, with one part being just as essential as the other. It's together that in community we experience and fulfill our role in God's heavenly kingdom. And as much as I know this, it's still hard for me to ask for help. My pride gets in the way routinely, daily. And somehow I feel like I'm a failure as an adult or a wife if I have to ask for it. And yet, I don't harbor those judgments on others when they reach out for help. In fact, I think it's a sign of strength. And here's where my notes end. I am truly grateful, and I am certainly still a work in progress. But God is working so hard in my life to teach me to slow down, to teach me to be mindful and present with my family and with my husband. That's been one of the good things that has come out of the pandemic for me and for all of us. And while I am, like I said, still a work in progress, I am grateful for this time that God has given me to learn to rely on others, so that one day that I can pay it forward as well and be that helping hand to someone else in need.